Hello, Michael here, looking at Psalm 78 for our devotion, a psalm which may be subtitled, Tell the Coming Generation. And today we're focusing on verse 49 down to 54 for our exposition. So let's go ahead and read those 6 verses. Verse 49. He let loose on them his burning anger, wrath, indignation, and distress, a company of destroying angels. Verse 50. He made a path for his anger. He did not spare them from death, but gave their lives over to the plague. 51. He struck down every firstborn in Egypt, the firstfruits of their strength in the tents of Ham. 52. Then he led out his people like sheep and guided them in the wilderness like a flock. 53. He led them in safety so that they were not afraid, but the sea overwhelmed their enemies. And 54. And he brought them to his holy land, to the mountain which his right hand had won. And as we turn to the treasure of David for the exposition, let's go ahead and read verse 49 again. He cast upon them the fierceness of his anger, wrath and indignation, and trouble by sending evil angels among them. And Spurgeon exposits, he cast upon them the fierceness of his anger, wrath and indignation, and trouble. His last arrow was the sharpest. He reserved the strong wine of his indignation to the last. Note how the psalmist piles up the words, and well he might, for blow followed blow, each one more staggering than its predecessor, and then the crushing stroke was reserved for the end. By sending evil angels among them, messengers of evil entered their houses at midnight, and smote the dearest objects of their love. The angels were evil to them, though good enough in themselves. Those who to the hearers of salvation are ministers of grace, are to the hearers of wrath executioners of judgment. When God sends angels, they are sure to come, and if he bids them slay, they will not spare. See how sin sets all the powers of heaven in array against man. He has no friend left in the universe when God is his enemy. And verse 50. He made a way to his anger. He spared not their soul from death, but gave their lives over to the pestilence. Verse 50. He made a way to his anger, coming to the point with them by slow degrees, assailing their outwards, first by destroying their property, and then coming upon their person as through an open breach in the walls. He broke down all the comforts of their life, then advanced against their life itself. Nothing could stand in his way. He cleared a space in which to do execution upon his adversaries. He spared not their soul from death, but gave their life over to the pestilence. In their soul was the origin of the sin, and he followed it to its source and smote it there. A fierce disease filled the land with countless funerals. Jehovah dealt out myriads of blows, and multitudes of spirits failed before him. Verse 51. And smote all the firstborn in Egypt, the chief of their strength in the tabernacles of Ham. And smote all the firstborn in Egypt. No exceptions were made. The monarch bewailed his heir, as did the menial at the mill. They smote the Lord's firstborn, even Israel, and he smites theirs. The chief of their strength in the tabernacles of Ham. Swinging his scythe over the field, death topped off the highest flowers. The tents of Ham knew each one its own peculiar sorrow, and were made to sympathize with the sorrows which had been ruthlessly inflicted upon the habitations of Israel. Thus curses come home to roost. Oppressors are repaid in their own coin, without the discount of a penny. Verse 52. But made his own people to go forth like sheep, and guided them in the wilderness like a flock. But made his own people to go forth like sheep. The contrast is striking, and ought never to have been forgotten by the people. The wolves were slain in heaps, the sheep were carefully gathered, and triumphantly delivered. The tables were turned, and the poor serfs became the honored people, while their oppressors were humbled before them. Israel went out in a compact body like a flock. They were defenseless in themselves as sheep, but they were safe under their great shepherd. They left Egypt as easily as a flock leaves one pasture for another, and guided them in the wilderness like a flock. Knowing nothing of the way by their own understanding or experience, they were nevertheless rightly directed, for the all-wise God knew every spot of the wilderness. To the sea, through the sea, and from the sea, the Lord led his chosen, while their former taskmasters were too cowed in spirit and broken in power to dare molest them. And verse 53, and he led them on safely, so that they feared not, but the sea overwhelmed their enemies. And he led them on safely, so that they feared not. After the first battle alarm, natural enough when they found themselves pursued by their old taskmasters, they plucked up courage and ventured forth boldly into the sea, and afterwards into the desert, where no man dwelt. But the sea overwhelmed their enemies. They were gone, gone forever, never to disturb the fugitives again. That tremendous blow effectually defended the tribes for 40 years from any further attempt to drive them back. Egypt found the stone too heavy and was glad to let it alone. Let the Lord be praised, who thus effectually freed his elect nation. What a grand narrative have we been considering. Well might the mightiest master of sacred song select Israel in Egypt as a choice theme for his genius, and well may every believing mind linger over every item of the amazing transaction. The marvel is that the favored nation should live as if unmindful of it all, and yet such is human nature. Alas, poor man, rather alas, base heart. We now, after a pause, follow again the chain of events, the narration of which had been interrupted by a retrospect, and we find Israel entering into the promised land there to repeat her follies and enlarge her crimes. Verse 54. And he brought them to the border of his sanctuary, even to his mountain, which his right hand had purchased. And he brought them to the border of his sanctuary. He conducted them to the frontier of the Holy Land, where he intended the tabernacle to become the permanent symbol of his abode among his people. He did not leave them halfway upon their journey to their heritage. His power and wisdom preserved the nation till the palm trees of Jericho were within sight on the other side of the river, even to this mountain which his right hand had purchased. Nor did he leave them, but still conducted them till they were in the regions round about Zion, which was to be the central seat of his worship. This the Lord had purchased in type of old by the sacrifices of Isaac, fit symbol of the greater sacrifice which was in due season to be presented there. That mountain was also redeemed by power, when the Lord's right hand enabled his valiant men to smite the Jebusites and take the sacred hill from the insulting Canaanite. Thus shall the elect of God enjoy the sure protection of the Lord of hosts, even to the borderland of death, and through the river, up to the hill of the Lord in glory, the purchased people shall safely reach the purchased inheritance. What a great God we serve. who attends to every step of the journey and defends and guides and blesses. Trust you enjoyed the meditation. Michael here declaring yet again, Jesus is Lord. Until next time, be blessed.